Intuition functions similarly to our memory. You know, what happens when you lose your keys and you're trying to find them? If you get upset and tense, do you find them? No, you never get there. What do you have to do? You have to relax and let go. And then you can go right to the place where you left your keys. Well, intuition works in the same way. When you have a problem, a decision you have to make right there, if you get tense about it and tight, you're not going to know the answer. You have to relax and let go and come back into being present with yourself. Then you can sense where the opportunity is in that moment.
Whereas we're being intuitive all the time. Anytime you generate any thought, anything, you're improvising. Improvisation is a form of intuition. You make it up as you go along. You see, so in the most general sense, being intuitive is being yourself.
Keeping a journal so that you have a record of it and can reflect on it, being reflective, so that you're not only becoming more aware of the experiences as you have them, but also so that you can stand back and just take a look at sort of that process and be reflective. And in that reflective mode, then it can become more of a ongoing conscious process rather than something that just happens randomly or occasionally.
Meditate. What that does is that clears the mind of, first of all, it gets you out of where a lot of other things are there to pay attention to. And second of all, it gets you into a state where your conscious thoughts aren't bothering you all the time. And where a connection with your unconscious, or if there is a universal unconscious, is much more likely to happen.
The way I teach people to get in touch with their intuition is by paying attention to their breath. To learn what it's like to just trust the flow of the breath. Most people, when they start focusing on their breathing, they feel they have to control it in some way. Well, once they can relax enough that they can follow their breath, pay attention to it without controlling it, they can have this experience of trusting and inspiration. And that word inspiration is a real intuitive insight as to the relationship between being natural, being yourself, insights, intuition, and maybe even a little spiritual dimension to intuition as well.
Try and get into some practice of inner silence. Now, silence can be achieved in lots of different ways. Sitting in nature, focusing. There are a lot of martial arts and other arts that people do, yoga to practice silence. But I like to say to people, you don't have to practice silence in all these sort of sophisticated ways. You can practice silence exactly where you're sitting by following your breath in and out, in and out. That simple technique will take you to a very silent place inside, and it's in that place that you can listen to your still small voice, the famous still small voice, which really calls very loudly to your new life, your higher purpose, what you're here to do and accomplish in our world.
You increase what you notice. You increase what you think you can find. I mean, somebody who is going down the street and is looking for shoes, he'll find the shoes in the windows. Whereas if he's not looking for shoes, he won't see them. They can be all around.
Now, Freud was the one who made a great deal about this wishful thinking, wish dreams and so on. Where the implication is that this is not true. That, this is, you're wishing for something you can never have. What I'm saying is that you can never achieve any future unless you can envision it. And it doesn't mean that, therefore, you can just sit in your easy chair and now you can command the universe without having to get off your duff. No. It does mean that you have to inspire yourself with this creative energy to fulfill that future. And it's a lot of work.
Two tips that I've learned. One is pay attention to the wonderful things, the unexpected things that happen in your life, because it's coming from an intuitive source, those marvelous accidents. I think especially the things we usually think of as negatives. I have found that the greater the problem, the greater the gift. But I have to learn to receive it as a gift. If I get stuck in my anger that it didn't happen the way I wanted, or that it's my bitterness, or even my grieving, I won't find the gift. but I have yet to find a tragedy that didn't become a profound teacher for me.
This development process is one that does require a lot of personal self-reflection. It's an ongoing rediscovery for me, rather than something that's not like you're trying to develop a new skill, but rather kind of go back to a skill that we've all had all the time, but it's gotten buried by our education.